Real proud of our guys. I want to lead it off by thanking our student section. Wow. That's why I went over there and shook their hands. That was amazing. 2 weeks in a row. What they did last week, they're a lot better fans than I would have been. I can assure you of that. But they were absolutely amazing, loud, fun. I'm glad we were able to put out a pretty decent, product for them today. I'd be remiss if I didn't want to wish my wife, Carol, happy birthday. She's 27 today. I'm not sure she says she is, but she's a wonderful mother and wife and friend and great parent to Jackson and Witt, our two kids. Very pleased with what we were able to do today. Hit some big plays offensively, missed a couple. We got to hit those down the field. I thought Jeff threw the ball extremely well. I think you saw what I kind of referenced as far as his command and comfort with where we are. We want to stay balanced in what we do, and a lot of things of what we do as far as formationally, when we spread you out, you got to be able to create some one-on-ones with Matt and Kelvin and Mac Brown and Brandon Powell and Mark Herndon and those guys running the football. And you got to be able to tackle very well in space against us, and that's creates some major issues for us. I think we've improved ourselves at wideout. I think you saw that today. Some guys had some opportunities to make some plays in space and create some one-on-one situations. I thought we protected pretty well. The turnovers were huge to be able to get those in the game and get the ball off some people. But 86 plays was that was good to be able to roll and have that many skilled kids and take that many shots. But we're getting off the field with 3 and outs, and we'll face better than this bunch. So we need to be realistic about that as well. So defensively, I thought we did okay. I think there are some things that they missed. We didn't cover down on a couple things in the secondary, especially. That would have been hit against someone else probably, in my opinion, and we got to get that cleaned up. But a bunch of new guys played for the first time in the swamp, and anytime you get in that situation, in my experience here, you never really know how a young man is going to respond. And I thought for the most part those guys responded extremely well for the first time. And injury-wise, DJ Humphries is going to be probably two weeks. He has a chip on his bone in his ankle. And it's not anything serious. There's no surgical issues there. It's just going to be we will know much more tomorrow, but Paul felt like it'd be a 2 to 3 week situation. It's going to be some swelling and it's going to be sore, but no surgery is needed. And he's going to be back. We lost Jake McGee for the year, broken tibia and fibia. And I'm so disappointed for him. A guy that came in here, and it's very difficult to, come into a situation for 1 year. And he has done it as well as you can imagine, because it's always concerning for me because I know what that locker room's like and I know where we are to bring someone from the outside. And this guy's a total team guy, a tough guy. I think we're going to have to do the surgery tonight. Mike Mosier will do that, and I'll know more about that on Monday or where we are. But it's extremely disappointed for him. But Clay and Tevin and those guys have stepped up at the position, so we need to continue to do that there. Adam Lane had a family situation that came up Thursday night that I told him he needed to get back to Winter Haven and handle. He'll be back with us. There's no issues there. As far as that, again, very pleased to get on the field and play. As we were a little pessimistic as coaches. I even wore rain gear in the first half, and I was glad I was wrong. But to get out there and play and see that we've made some steps forward, and we got to continue to improve from Game 1 to Game 2, starting with Kentucky Saturday night here in the Swamp at 7:30. I'll open it up for any questions.
Robbie up front.
Well, after what this team went through last year and last week, how much did you need a game like this one?
Well, we just need to win. We need to get out and play. We're much improved. I've told you guys that all along, and it's not false bravado. It's real, and we are a better football team. We're much improved. When you get DJ Humphries, and when you get Chaz Green, and when you get Jeff Driscoll and Matt Jones, and you get all these guys back. Andre DeBose looked pretty good returning kicks. So, when you get those guys, that amount of playmakers for you back, you're going to look like a lot better football coach.
Mark and then Nick.
Was Jeff told not to run or not to take any hits or try not to anyway back there?
Mark, we asked him to protect himself in some situations, and that's what we're going to do in those situations. He needs to be smart and protect himself, and as I've said before, difficult for him because he's a competitive young man.
And how much more dynamic does he become when you open in that run option?
No question. You create what I call run-pass conflicts for a defense, and that's an issue as far as if you saw, I don't know what the exact numbers are in the run in the past, but we had a lot of runs called that because of a bad run box, we're throwing the ball outside. So you create one-on-ones outside. You create people that have to make tackles. But it's a called run, but we have quicks off of it. Instead of trying to block a bad box, we're going to get the ball outside.
Nick over here to the left.
We won the turnover battle tonight. How much did you stress that to the defense? in the
Well,
offseason?
we stress it all the time, and I think that we do have some ball hawk type guys. I go back to 2009, I believe, at Texas. I think we led the country in turnovers. We had a guy named Earl Thomas. He was the 17th pick in the draft. I think he had 7 or 8 interceptions. He had 4 or 5 caused fumbles. The guy was around the ball and made a bunch of plays. Rod McElroy, a bunch of those guys. 2012, we were real good turnover teachers that year too. We had Sharif Floyd and Dominic Eason, a lot of guys that pressured the quarterback. We had Matt Elam and some guys that created a lot of getting the ball off people. And so when you're able to do that, you also, in both of those situations, when you have leads late in games, you create a lot of what I call loose downs. People are going to throw the football more, and they're not running it as much, which is much more difficult to try and create turnovers in those situations. So there's no question we emphasize it. We do the best job that I've been around as far as from a defensive staff emphasizes it here much better than I did when I was a defensive coordinator. And those guys do a really good job. But you also got to have guys that understand when the tackle's secure and take a shot at the ball and get the ball out. And when you have guys like that, and I think we have some of those guys that are able to do that now.
Zach in the middle, and then Edgar.
Well, this year, your first recruiting cycle is in it's in its senior year, its 4th year, and you look out on the field, you guys have depth on both sides of the ball at all positions. What is it like just for you and your staff to see how deep you guys are, and what does that do for your football team?
Well, I think in every year, in every recruiting class, you recruit for the best players you can sign, and then you also recruit for needs. And we try to every year hit numbers at certain positions. It's not an exact science. You'd like to. I've got a number in my mind at each position of what we would like to have to create depth on your football team, and I think we've been able to do that. Injuries happen. You got to work through those, but that's why you recruit, and that's what we do.
And can you just talk about Neron Ball's performance today?
Neron's a very good football player. He's a guy that can really play well in space as far as a linebacker's concerned. He's got good off-the-ball instincts. He's also a good end-of-the-line player, but he is a very good pass rusher, and we can get him in some matchup situations. If people are going to slide the protection to Dante, we can create some one-on-ones for Neron on a back or a tight end will be advantageous for us.
Edgar up front.
Trayon Harris's debut, pretty impressive. First
Well, again,
pass.
you get in that situation, and we felt like we had some deep ball opportunities in the game, and I told Kurt the guy needs to play. I mean, we need to play the guy. We don't need to sit on the ball. We need to take some shots. And we did that, and he hit on it, and we had a smash called in the boundary, which was we felt like, based on how they had been playing to that point, was just going to be a hitch ball thrown into the boundary, and they rolled up into cover two, and he took right to his middle read throw to Mark Herndon. Mark made a fantastic play. So he needs more and more of those reps and more of those opportunities to go in and play the game.
We've seen some glimpses of DeMarcus at practice and heard a lot of things about him, but just how fulfilling is that to kind of see him go out there and do what he was able to do?
Really proud of DeMarcus again. He's really come on and done some nice things for us. He's an outstanding young man. He's fun to be around. He's an electric guy with the ball in his hand. He can make some things happen for us. We need to continue to work on ball security with him and those sort of things, but he's certainly a guy that can make some plays for you.
Jonathan over here to the left and in the back. Go, Jonathan.
In addition to Trayon, a ton of other freshmen had big days. Caleb Brantley, Brandon Powell, just to name a few. Why were they so ready for this game? Was it because they had to sit out that last game and they were kind of anticipating this, or what was the reason and what was your reaction to it?
Well, I think, you mentioned, Brandon Powell. I always say his playing as a freshman has to do with being, having ability, but Brandon's a very mature young man. I mean, extremely mature beyond his years. And he's able to handle that situation. And that goes more than what coaching can do for you. But he's just a very mature guy, and guys like that. Caleb's come along. Caleb needed a red shirt last year. He's going to need to continue to get more snaps and reps, and hopefully in those situations we can get him in. We put him in the second series of the game. We got to continue to build depth. But again, I've said it along on both lines of scrimmage. There are some issues as far as experience, absolutely. Are there issues as far as talent level? I don't think so. I think we got some talent. I think we have some depth. These guys haven't played much.
Mike over the right and then Joel in the back. Then Mike.
Coach, you said you told Kurt to keep taking shots down the field. Don't sit on the ball. Is that a change in philosophy on your point?
Well, we hadn't been in that situation very often, to be honest with you. So no, that's not really a change. He needed to go play the game. He needed to go play and have the pocket collapse on him and get in all of those situations, because you can't simulate that. And we put all of our quarterbacks but Jeff live in 2 scrimmages, so they were live. So he's had live bullets coming at him, and so But again, you just got to continue to play the game in order to improve. Football's a developmental game.
Also, you said you'll win a game any way you can, but you mentioned the fans earlier, the student section. They like to see a lot of touchdowns, a lot of scoring. How nice do you think that is for them?
Well, I think it's great, but they're more concerned about winning, just like me. But they like that too, I guess.
Joel, all the way back to the right, Coach.
You talked about Naron Ball's play. Talk about where he was a couple of years ago, what he's gone through to see him have a game like this today.
Well, I could be up here for a couple hours talking about Naron Ball as far as what he's faced off the field and his family situation and what he's lost. He's a lot tougher than I am, I can tell you that. He is a great young man, a guy that went through a hereditary issue my first year here. We almost lost him on the practice field. I remember I had to go speak somewhere one night after the situation. I had no idea how serious it was. We almost lost him. And thank goodness for U.S. Health, which was back then, it was Shands, to be able to have that facility for us, to be able to recognize the issue, address the issue. It was a hereditary blood vessel that popped in his head. And it wasn't about playing football at that point. It was about living. And I flew back that night and stayed in the hospital with him, and didn't really even know much about him other than I heard he was a great kid. And I found out on my own how much he has persevered through in his life, what he's been through. He's a good football player on that, but he's a much better person.
Coach over here in the middle to the left.
Coach, why did Brian Cox have to start over Darius Cummings?
Brian's played well. He's done a nice job. Brian plays with a great motor. We have the luxury of we would like to, based on where we are right now, play 10 guys up front, and whoever practices the best is who's going to play. And John Bullard can play inside and out, so he's a guy that gives us some different variety of things there. Yep.
Gary over the right, I'm sorry.
Well, what did the officials say specifically about the sideline infraction on Andre's punt return? And then could you describe maybe from a fan standpoint what you thought of that run?
Well, that was a great run. I'd like to say it reminded me of me, but I never had. I'd have torn 4 ACLs before any of that would have ever happened. No, the guy he's an electric guy with the ball in his hands. He's got tremendous speed. Trying to get him in space as much as possible. It is a huge emphasis this year is sideline, and Mr. Shaw came in and talked to our football team about it. I thought for the most part we did a pretty good job other than that situation. And the official came to me and said, Will, I'm sorry. I said, I ran into 3 guys trying to get down the sideline. Our guys got excited. We got a tight sideline. Our guys got to do a better job of getting back and staying off there because it's dangerous for the officials. Their eyes are on the field. They're sprinting down there, and then they're getting waylaid by a guy, cheering his buddy on. And certainly with that run, I don't blame our guys for getting excited about it. It was certainly an excitable play, and that's something that we're looking forward to Andre giving our football team this year and changing field position and scoring points. And there's a reason why I think it's one more kickoff return. He'll be the leader in the SEC history, and we plan on making that happen. So, but that is a huge point of emphasis this year. It's been called, I think you've probably seen it in the last 2 weeks a bunch of times, and it is a dangerous situation for an official on the sideline when his eyes are on the field and he's running and somebody cold clocks him as he's running down the sideline there.
Clay Burton more than doubled his reception count from last year tonight. Just how impressed were you with his play tonight, and how big of a role will he play now in the future with Jake McGee being out for the year?
Well, Clay's played well for us. We've got all the confidence in the world. That's why he's a starter, and he's a guy that's continued to make plays for us. His brother Trey made the Philadelphia Eagles proud of him and what he's accomplished. But Clay's a really good football player, a very valuable member of our organization. He's got really good hands. He really understands offensively what we're trying to do and the things we try to do with him. But he's got a huge role in moving forward in what we're doing. That's a very critical position for us.
Kevin over here to the left.
Coach, Matt Jones and Kelvin Taylor each with 2 touchdowns. How big was it to get them both involved, and how big of a weapon is that going forward to have both of them kind of clicking
I
like
think
that?
we're very talented at the running back position. Matt's at 235. I think looks really good running. He's got really good hands. He's very good in protection. Kelvin's improved his hands, improved in protection. He's always been a very talented runner, and you saw that. Continue to see that, excuse me. Mac Brown ran extremely well. Mark Herndon did really well, caught the seam ball there thrown by Treon, and then Brandon Powell, you see why we're excited about him. So we're talented at the position. Both of those guys have done a very nice job.
And is it safe to say that Velez has won the kicking job, or how do you view the field?
Well, right now, what we went into the game saying 25-yard line, and then Frankie was going to kick. Outside of that, probably the 34-35, we'd kick Austin. And, Frankie kicked well. Austin, we had a couple of errant kickoffs we need to work on there. But we'll continue to work through those things. We just can't give up that kind of field position as the games we move forward.
Jeff over here to the right.
Well, would you talk a little bit about that 4th and 2 on the first drive where you passed for a first down, looked like double crosses over the middle, and does it say something that we haven't seen a whole lot of passing on 4th and short in the last couple of years?
Well, we went into the game, and we always do, into a planning of, in those, middle of the field situations, what do you feel good with? And we felt like anything 1 or less running game wise, we felt pretty good about the surge we'd get up front. On top of that, we felt like we were going to see pressure in man-to-man, and so we ran what we call a mesh concept to hopefully pick off a defender. And Jeff reads it well. It's one of his routes he likes to run, and that again, that's where I think Kurt really does a nice job of thinking about players, not plays, and what do they feel comfortable with, and where is their comfort level, and that's something that Jeff really likes.
Is that also a good example in this offense of getting receivers more open than we've seen lately?
Well, I think it's the repetition of routes that we do, and we window dress it with motion and shifts and some different things. But we're running smash concept or mesh concept or diagonal curl. We're running the same concepts over and over and over. And for the most part, if you're an outside receiver, from the right side, you're seeing the ball come from the same way all the time. From a left side receiver, you're seeing the ball come from the same way. Now, the slot guys, they got to be really smart because they got to play on the right and the left side. So the other guys, you're getting good at running the same routes. And I'm not saying that we can't flip and play guys on either side. We can. But for the most part, there's a very simplistic approach to what we do, and it narrows things down for the players. But to the defensive perspective, it looks like there's a lot going on as far as route concepts and all of the run pass issues as far as the fakes off the run game, vertical balls down the field. So we got to make sure we hit those, moving forward and catch and finish the play on some of those.
We'll wrap it up with 2 final questions, and we have a couple players, Richard, and then in the middle, Richard.
Did you hear the crowd chanting, "We want 70" at the end of the game? Has that ever happened to you?
You've been here. What do you think?
What's it like to just score and kind of just satiate a fan base that just wants points, want offense?
Well, I mean, I think we're much more talented than we've been, and I think that a lot of that goes into that. And I think last year was a very difficult year to make a lot of decisions based on where we were because of the adversity we faced. And it was hard. It was tough. So there's no question we've improved ourselves, and we're looking forward to continuing to take steps forward.
Final question in the middle.
Coach, we saw a lot of different plays from a lot of different guys. Is there anyone who you wish could have played more?
No, I think that we did a good job of rolling guys in there and playing. I haven't seen the snap count on defense. We had a bunch of 3-and-outs, and on the defensive side of the ball, thank goodness we have 3-and-outs, but when you have so many, sometimes it's hard to get a guy in because you're planning on getting him in a certain series, and then the other guy only got 3 snaps. You want to get him snaps, and when you're going to roll and play 10 defensive linemen, which we're going to do, to keep guys fresh and keep guys experienced, it's hard to do. When you're going to roll linebackers like we're going to roll, it's hard to continue to, when you have a 3-and-out, you want a guy to get more snaps. So I think there's probably some things defensive we'll go back and correct, self-evaluate ourselves on. But I think for the most part, we got some guys from good snaps.
Thanks, guys.
All righty.
Give Clay Burton